Awesome, guys. Welcome back to another episode of my East Coast Fitness Podcast. And I'm your host, Mark Lewis. And I am joined by another very special guest who actually did coach me in the past. And so I'm glad, as I do with every episode, I get the viewer to introduce yourself. So if you could introduce yourself to the viewers, and that would be wonderful.
Awesome. My name is Patrick MacInnis. You might know me as Patty Lifts on Instagram and YouTube. I'm a WNBF Pro Men's Physique champion, power lifter, and also a certified bodybuilding judge. My full-time job is online fitness coaching, and I've worked with some of the top athletes in the world. But yeah, I think that sums it all up.
It's funny because I just did a podcast, and sometimes I get intros which are they try to discuss everything on the podcast, and then it's just oh shit, we have nothing left to talk about. So I feel like when I'm doing these, it's I feel like the intro thing is something I need to kind of be more clear on, because I get some it's just kind of awkward where you're yeah, my name is Matt.
I totally understand, man. You can even introduce your guests yourself. I know, just to speed out the process, depending on what type of content you want to release. But yeah, I get that.
And then I'm just okay, cool. Thanks, Matt. But I guess the question I always like to start off with is basically how did you get into weightlifting? And I guess coming from, I find that the most common answer is sports related, but I guess for you, what made you interested in weightlifting, and when did you decide that, you know what, it's something that I want to take seriously, and I want to kind of devote my life to it, and I wanted to make it a full-time job?
For sure. So what happened was I graduated high school. I was in sports, obviously, with a background in sports, but I was just working at Swiss Chalet, and I didn't feel too good about myself because I wasn't in sports. I wasn't happy with my body, and I guess I had those deep pains of not having a lot of confidence. So in high school, I used to wear 3 t-shirts to school. You can even see it in my grad picture, all 3 layers, because I was so skinny. So, that deep pain really pushed me to go into the weight room. And my main goal was just to get a little bit bigger, to feel better about myself. And also work on my mental health, to know that I'm doing something productive to move my life forward. So that's what really got me into the gym. And what got me, changing my mindset to make it a full-time job was, I started getting into it. I got fascinated with the research behind it all. So I got obsessed with trying to get the fastest results possible. And, because I was into sciences in high school, I was what's the science behind fitness, training and nutrition? So I did a lot of research. And I started getting great results, finding, the top researchers in the game and learning from them and looking into the research myself. And then, I started helping my friends out and just people that I knew, and they're getting great results as well. And it almost accidentally happened because so many people were asking me for help. I'm like, man, I don't have any time. You know what? I might start charging for this. And, I'm blessed that it happened. And then I decided one day just to go all in. One of the biggest things that, really made me go all in was, when I decided to compete, I went pro in California, and being a guy from a small town on the East Coast of Canada, it opened up my eyes to a brand new world. And I'm like, this is what I want to do. I remember stepping off the plane, seeing the palm trees, the sun beating down on me. And I literally couldn't believe this existed on earth. So I'm like, you know what, this whole entire lifestyle, the bodybuilding, the beautiful, lifestyle, just everything to do with it is what really motivated me to go all in.
Do you feel just kind of a side question on that? Do you feel like the people that you surrounded yourself with, originally, or necessarily do you feel like that had a huge impact on maybe to where you are today, or did you kind of have to reestablish some people in your life, or where was your friend circle at the time, and did they were they supportive of some of the decisions that you wanted to make?
For sure. So I'd say there's a mix, before I got in the whole fitness scene, or as I was getting into it, I was big into partying. I played college football. I like drinking, going out. And then I slowly started changing my circle because I started to take my fitness goals a little bit more seriously. So I do have friends that did support it during that time, but then I also had to leave some friends behind because they weren't as supportive. But once I started documenting my journey, on social media. To be transparent, a lot of people were putting me down for it because I thought it was weird that I was posting stuff with my shirt off, or documenting a bodybuilding show. And I just wanted to keep it as a diary, so you kind of realize who your real friends are, and they're going to support you no matter what, obviously, if you're not hurting anyone. And it's just something I was really passionate about. And then later on, I ended up becoming training partners with Jeff Nippard. And honestly, he was a massive inspiration for me. And this was all before he blew up on social media as well. But he told me what he wanted to do, and he went all in with it. And he did inspire me and help push me to actually compete, both in powerlifting and bodybuilding. And he still coaches me to this day. And he helped me make that leap and move forward to
So
go full time.
so going back to the mindset of just like being able to like you said, there was people that weren't supportive, and like you were filming yourself and you were putting stuff out, and you mentioned that you got some backlash on what you were doing.
Mhm.
Was there a time where you kind of like doubted yourself and was like, you know what, maybe like this is absolutely crazy, maybe? And I guess like there was a time, like how did you kind of, was there somebody specific, like you mentioned Jeff Nippard kind of like helped you and like kind of did that, but was there somebody specific that really said, you know what, man, like it's absolutely not crazy, like kind of like got your mindset out of that negative thinking and kind of said, you know what, this is absolutely what you should be doing?
Yeah, honestly, it was just watching YouTube and following other influencers on Instagram, Matt Ogus, Chris Jones, Christian Guzman. I followed their journeys. I saw them doing it, and it was so inspirational to me. And I know how much fitness really impacted my lifestyle. So I wanted to do the same thing because it gave me the confidence to really break out of my shell and live free almost. And I wanted to bring that positivity to other people, because I know how much it impacted me. So, leaning on watching YouTubers and Instagrammers really helped me.
Absolutely. So I guess I just want to touch a little bit on the whole thing. You're currently living in BC right now.
Mhm.
So I guess like you're from East Coast, you're from around where I'm from, Halifax. I'm in Truro, so I'm probably a little bit about 45 minutes away.
Mhm.
I guess in terms of your travel, I knew that you really enjoy traveling, and obviously with everything going on in COVID, I guess why did you decide to settle down in British Columbia?
Well, I lived in British Columbia before. I have a great network of friends here, and it's just good, positive connections. I found that in or on the West Coast, a lot of the people here have growth mindsets to really elevate you and push you to become better and better. Where to be completely transparent, on the East Coast, it felt like I was being held back. There was some negative energy there, and even I don't know. I feel like there was just more opportunity, and it was just more of a positive place for me. Now, that could have just been my personal perception and bias of the East Coast. Obviously, there's so many great people there, so many great opportunities there. But just for my specific situation and where I was in life, I felt like it was a better option because some of the people that I've connected with on the way up towards, my fitness journey and my career and business all lived on the West Coast. And, they're there rooting for me, pushing me. And I honestly consider them family. I would drop everything I'm doing and do anything that they would need, because I consider them that close to me now.
Absolutely. So with I guess like coronavirus kind of going on, and everything kind of like crazy. Do you see yourself ever leaving British Columbia, or is it, or do you, obviously like you're still young and you
Mhm.
obviously want to travel? But I know you went to Thailand and you stayed over there for a little bit. But is that something that like, obviously your job is extremely flexible as long as you're putting in the work and you're catering to your clients and you're also meeting your own personal needs. But do you feel like traveling is something that you want to do full time, or do you, are you in a situation right now where you know what, I'm comfortable, I want to settle down, maybe buy a home? I guess like where is that at right now with your lifestyle?
Yeah, I feel like personally, I don't really follow the conventional lifestyle, like go to school, get a job, buy a house, buy a car. My happiness is, a little bit different. And I realize that, by, performing activities to build self-awareness. But for me, I like traveling. But I do want to have a home base in North America. I just do really enjoy experiencing other cultures, and I find that it really inspires me. I'm able to learn a lot more, and it really opens up my mind to other things. So I do think it's a good experience, and I do recommend everyone to do it, because sometimes you're only influenced by your inner circle wherever you live, and you don't understand what's going on around the world. Having an Asian background, I kind of wanted to experience that culture firsthand because I was born and raised in Canada. So it was great just to experience some of my roots.
Absolutely. So yeah, I just want to move into some fitness related questions or just some training related questions.
Mhm.
So with your contest prep, you currently are doing a contest prep.
Mhm.
And how is it's Jeff Nippert who's doing your contest prep, and I do believe he was kind of with you from I guess almost like day one. Uh, how,
Yeah.
how is that going? Is there any uncertainty with the show, or like how are you? Was it I guess kind of like, was it hard to kind of get out of that mentality of like, we're in coronavirus, the gyms are shut down, everything's gone to shit, to like, let's do a contest prep, let's fully commit, I guess. Like, how was that process, and like how is everything going with the show prep itself?
Yeah, so my mindset on a show is like, I at the end of the day do this for myself. You know,
Mhm.
like, you when you're competing, you can only control your body, what you do in your life. So when you step on stage, you can't control the judges, you can't control the other competitors. So I'm going to be going through with the contest prep regardless if I can step on stage, because this is a challenge that I wanted to do myself. And if it's, you
Mhm.
know, showcasing it at home or if it's on stage, you know, I'm more about enjoying the journey on the way there. So the prep is going to go on. Um, no matter what. But the only thing is I don't know if I'm going to be able to get over the border and get into United States, because that's where Worlds is this year. Because I'm working towards WNBF Worlds. I'm going to do a pro qualifier. If I have to, I'll compete in Edmonton, because there's one pro physique show there. But I would rather like try and find the biggest show possible. You know, I'd rather try and find the best competition and see where I lie versus, you know, going to a smaller show. Edmonton is one of the bigger ones, so if I had to do that, I still would be happy with it.
So I just want to clarify for some of the viewers, because I'm actually not really educated myself on it as well. But I guess like, when you, so you competed in men's physique, and then when you got your men's physique pro card, I guess is it going to Worlds, and you're going to stay within that men's physique division, and then you're
Mhm.
basically just going to like level up that like to win the title? Is that kind of how it goes, or like what's
Mhm.
the idea behind the Worlds?
Yeah, it's just the best of the best go there. So what you have to do is qualify to go to world. Like, let's say you're an amateur starting out, you're going to go to a pro qualifier, you know, win the overall there, get a pro card, and then you go into a pro show, and then you qualify for worlds, and then you compete at worlds if it's something you want to do. But the reason why I want to do that is because I know it's going to be the best competition. You know, it's kind of a weird situation because coronavirus is going on right now, and I feel like people are going to be limited to being able to travel to the States, because I know some of the best competitors, you know, I see them overseas in Asia and Europe. You know, I
Mhm.
hopefully the borders are open for everyone so I can compete against the best. And that's just one of my goals that I want to do on a personal standpoint.
So I guess, did you think about potentially getting like a bodybuilding pro card, or like transitioning to a bodybuilding class, or why is it, I guess, like, why is the physique division, obviously you got your pro card and you feel
Mhm.
like that maybe that division kind of suits your ability right now, but do you have plans, like, let's say everything goes as planned and you do everything that you want to do, you accomplish your goal, you win the overall in that fitness contest, do you feel like that would be the next step in your journey? It
Mhm.
would be to kind of transition to that bodybuilding category and get
Mhm.
that there.
Yeah, so I do really like bodybuilding. Like, I still go super hard on legs. You know, I prioritize them in training. I love training legs. Um, I just feel like for where I'm at, my genetics, you know, I'm not trying to make an excuse, but I feel like I wouldn't be as successful where my physique is at right now. Now, the thing is, I'm still down to compete in bodybuilding. I've done it twice already, and it's something that I definitely aspire to do in the future. And you know, I definitely want to aspire to get my pro card in bodybuilding one day. But I'm just going to wait for my time, where right now I'm focusing on building my physique towards the judging criteria of the men's physique class. And then
Mhm.
once I'm ready to move forward, I will switch my training and base it on the judging criteria of the bodybuilding class. So it's something definitely in the future, but it's not a priority. It's just, all of this is just a little bit more for fun and a personal goal.
Absolutely. So with the contest prep itself, like, I can just understand the sense of accomplishment you would feel for winning the pro card, and you felt like you have the best, obviously you have the best physique on that stage on that day.
Mhm.
But with that said, like, do you I think, does it kind of not necessarily go to your head where you're like, well, there's nothing I can really improve on, like there's nothing, obviously with, you're going to be up against different competition, but I guess, like, where did you, transitioning from winning your pro card to moving to this show, what do you feel are some areas in your physique, or maybe just mindset, or just the way that you're approaching this show, that you're doing it differently in order to kind of
Mhm.
not to take that physique of what you presented on stage and kind of up that.
So, I'm always in the mindset of always trying to improve, regardless, even when I did win a pro show in the past. The second I got off stage, the next day I was ready to go back in the gym and start improving.
Yeah.
This is just something I'm super passionate about, regardless if the stage or the pro card or the competition was there or not. It's just something that I enjoy. I'm the type of person that always chases improvements and getting better. It just helps when there is a specific criteria. But this time around, I did get feedback from the WMBF Canada president, and he told me I needed to work on my arms. I need to work on my upper shelf V taper. So those are the main things that I am focusing on, as well as trusting in my coach, and discussing things with him, and just really putting my trust in him as well. So throughout my entire journey, he's helped me. He literally took me from day one
Yeah.
to where I'm at right now, and I just continue to progress and building on the physique on I guess, a day-to-day basis.
So in terms of the improvements, is there anything specifically to one of those body parts that you found that you're doing differently, like maybe a different exercise for upper chest, or maybe just like lighter weight and just really kind of like honing in that mind muscle connection? Is there something specific that really kind of like clicked for you with that, or just a specific body part?
It's more of a programming thing. So what we like to do is more prioritize volume towards my weaker parts, and really focus on progressive overload, volume accumulation. We'll be hitting them at a higher frequency. In a programming standpoint, toning back on areas that I'm not prioritizing as much. So I would say, in a programming standpoint, you need to definitely prioritize your weak points in tandem with your physique and the judging criteria. So what it's going to look like right now is definitely going to look different than what it was last year or even next year.
Yeah, absolutely. So I always want to, this is something that I find interesting coming from somebody who has like more of a science-based approach to fitness. And then obviously with Jeff Nippard, pretty much, I'd say most people are aware of who he is, but YouTube and just basically his following that he's built. He's obviously really, really involved with like the science-based stuff. But I just want to kind of get your take on the whole idea of training intensity. I understand like everybody talks about RP and everybody talks about kind of managing the training intensity. Are you a believer in I guess it's like, how do you kind of hold yourself back when you want to go to the gym? Because I know there's probably tons of people out there that just think you need to go in and demolish every session to try to improve. And I think a lot of people get caught in that mindset where they're like, I didn't do enough today, and you end up running yourself to the ground. Whereas if you periodize your training, manage your volume and your intensity. So I guess what my question is like, do you kind of get caught up in training intensity, and like the days that you feel like you want to go hard, how do you keep yourself from like doing like drop sets and supersets and like making sure you're progressing in a different way?
For sure. I'm a huge numbers guy. I feel like numbers don't lie. So if I know that I'm going to be able to increase my weight next week, or increase reps or progressive overload, and I know that's best for myself, then I'm going to be pretty robotic towards that, because I know it's going to give me the best results. I don't want to do anything that's self-destructing. And if I know that I'm actually holding myself back, then I feel like, it's something I definitely don't want to do. And the thing is, I've actually experienced rhabdomyolysis, and I forget what the other thing was, but there was electrolyte imbalance as well. And, that was such a traumatic experience physically and mentally. I never want to experience that again.
When I heard that you got it, that was the first time I've ever heard. I've never even heard of it. Were you aware? Were you aware of that existed before? Or
I wasn't aware. And the thing is like, in a training aspect, if you are like, if you're overtraining, you won't be able to progressive overload. There's so many biofeedback markers, like numeric qualities that you can look at. And I was actually progressing every week. I was feeling really good. I had high energy. So I think there was a connection with my sleep apnea and blood restriction towards my extremities that kind of, was a catalyst to push that to happen.
Absolutely. So just a couple like nutrition related questions, then we'll move on to more of like the business side of things.
Sure.
So with the nutrition itself, I just kind of want to cut straight to the chase with the whole dieting thing. I know personally for me, when I was dieting for my show, it was extremely difficult. But I think that when you're dieting for a show, it's I don't want to say it's easier, but I found it to be easier than just dieting in general. So if you're like the traditional person who's doing like a bulk and then a cut and then a bulk and then a cut, whereas if you're doing like a show, you're like, okay, it's show time, it's contest prep. You get in the mentality of knowing that you have to cut calories, you have to get leaner. I guess from your mindset, obviously you're hungry when it comes in contest prep. I guess what kind of dieting tips or what kind of things do you do to really fight those cravings? Or like, what? Yeah, do you have any tips with that necessarily?
So when dieting and when my calories are restricted, I really focus on getting whole nutrient dense foods in. So focusing on getting my micronutrients in. So since your calories will be restricted, you're automatically restricting the amount of food in and then automatically restricting your micros. So if you do hyper focus on trying to get your micros in, that will definitely help with your energy levels, your vitamins and minerals, as well as focusing on high volume foods. So for an example, if I'm going to get like a little tub or like a little bowl of ice cream versus a massive salad, the calories
Yeah.
are going to equate, but you're going to feel a lot fuller with higher volume. As well as, I use fasting, intermittent fasting as a tool. I use make sure that I'm timing my protein and my fiber. That definitely helps out a lot, both insoluble and soluble fibers. And then I do try and limit the amount of sugary foods just to like tone back my palate. So I am getting used to these more micronutrient, like more bland in quotation mark foods.
And I think a common one is that when you like, I don't know if you have like well, obviously there's a difference between a cheat day and like a cheat meal and a refeed meal or a refeed day. But like in terms of that whole aspect of it, I guess like if somebody like has a cheat meal in their plan, a lot of the times I know I'm personally like I feel guilty when I have a cheat meal, and then it's kind of like I'm almost better off. Like I'm pretty robotic myself. Like when I'm eating good, it's either has to be 100% clean or no cheat meal. So I guess what I'm trying to get at here is like, do you find yourself like if you had a cheat meal in there, do you think that like it will give you the opportunity to spiral into something worse? Or like what's your mindset with the whole cheat meal thing with like, do you feel like people that struggle with food just in general, do you think that like I guess like what's your take on the whole cheat meal
Personally,
thing?
I'm not a big fan of it. There is going to be, a demographic that it will work for, obviously. But for me personally, I feel like I'm not controlling my calories. I can't predict my weight moving forward. So if anything, I would have to damage control. And when I have to have that in combination, it's not a very good look for me. I'll struggle mentally. So I would more enjoy a controlled refeed day. And when I do that, I might try and fit in something a little bit more tasty, but for the most part, just increase my portions of, my micronutrient dense, high volume foods.
Absolutely. So let's move into the business aspect of things. I just kind of want to touch on maybe just explain a little bit of your background, I guess, like how you've transitioned your business throughout the years and kind of like how you kind of started the business and just kind of like the direction. Like, I guess what I'm trying to get is when you first started the business, how did it evolve over the time? Like you mentioned when you got your pro card, now you're coaching more higher level athletes. Did you kind of have that like vision for your business when you first started, or how did it like evolve since
For
you first?
sure. So I actually was in school for engineering, and like I remember being in class in a lab, and everyone like, well, half the class was excited to be there. It was a Friday, last class, and I'm like, man, I want to get out of here. So I was like, this is something I'm definitely not passionate about, and what's something that I kept going back to was fitness. So I honestly just wanted to become a personal trainer, and I thought that would have been, the perfect thing for me. But then I started to realize through the influence of other people online that there's online fitness coaching. So the more I looked into it, it's like more of a demographic that I wanted to work with. So I just wanted to make it my full-time job out of passion. Like I didn't care about the money. I didn't, I was willing to make sacrifice and even make less money to do something that I loved. From there, I started getting a lot of success with the team lifts athletes, putting them on stage. And then I started building up from there. So better and better athletes started coming to me, and I had the opportunity and to help them reach the top level as well. So I felt like there was a snowball effect with the more people that I've helped, people were aware of that. And then more people just came to me for, the guidance for them to compete.
So with the whole thing, I guess looking back now to like where you are now to where you started, what do you think was the biggest thing that you struggled with? If whether or not was it the business side of things? Like, was it actually getting the business going? Was it continuing the business? Was it like learning how to manage the business once it got going? Or was it like, it could have been like a lifestyle thing? Like, did you find that like being your own boss is cool and everything, but like, I don't think a lot of people really have an appreciation of how hard it is to balance your
Mhm,
lifestyle, your training sessions in,
mhm.
and just managing your own time is it's like extremely hard to do. So I guess looking back now, I guess what is something that you struggled with, and I guess how did you try to improve that?
So I would say the biggest thing was I didn't have balance in my life where I was burning myself out working too much.
Mhm.
Now I'm a little bit further down the road. I have processes and systems to help, streamline a lot of things that I have to do while also providing a higher quality service. Um, so I would say, working too much and, burning myself out, not doing things that are recreationally fun, where my life totally revolved around business, where now, because I have those processes, I can enjoy the journey. I can smell the roses along the way while being able to impact more people.
Absolutely. So with your current clients for competing, do you have any clients that are going to be competing this year?
Yeah, I have a crew. We're all focused on different shows because I have a worldwide presence and worldwide clientele. It's just going to be different situations depending on where they live. It literally could be the country to the province or state they live in. But yeah, I have a pretty decent crew looking to compete.
Awesome. So with the whole judging aspect of it, I understand that you're a judge as well. Do you feel, I guess, like what kind of made you interested in doing that? And I do you feel like it has an necessarily an advantage, but do you feel like it has an advantage to be able to understand and be able to like provide not only you with like understanding what judges are looking for, but also have like an added service with the client saying, listen, I don't only have my pro card. I've helped millions, or I've helped tons of people get their dream physique. But like, do you feel like that isn't like something that people value?
Yeah, like how I look at it is the reason why I got into it was I'm pretty much a fan of bodybuilding. Like I enjoy it regardless if I'm competing or not, and there's a show I want to go to it. But in a practical standpoint, a lot of people are just training and they're
Mhm.
training based on what they think the judging criteria is. Now, since
Yeah.
because there is a set specific judging criteria with specific rounds where, there's criteria for each round, it definitely helped give me an edge to better myself as an athlete, better help my clients and athletes to ensure that they're bringing the absolute best package based on the judging criteria versus just performing an offseason, building their physique, what they think is good. They're literally working directly towards, what the criteria states.
So with the whole judging thing, I just want to kind of touch on this right quick. So do you think that it has evolved since you started? Like, was there changes that like you were made aware of when you went into judging, and things have changed over the years?
Mhm.
Or has it like, is it like based on judge per judge, where it's like he sees something that that judge doesn't? I understand it's probably like streamlined to the effect of like every judge follows certain, they
Mhm.
look for certain criteria, but like has there been any recent changes that you've noticed with the judging criteria?
There has been some changes, in the bikini class, specifically on how they do things. But I don't know if people know, but when you're doing specific rounds for a certain category, let's say a physique category, the first round's a symmetry round. When you're judging everyone, the top and bottom score for the judge, the judge that judges the top and the bottom are
Mhm.
automatically discounted out of it. So generally there's 7 to 9 judges. The two top ones get dropped, and then it'll be the average of the middle five. So it's a lot
Okay.
more fair.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't even known that. So with I think the biggest thing that people have is like, I know when I did my first show, it was keeping that, uh, like not holding the pose. Like when I was transitioning between poses, I had a hard time like flexing the abs, keeping the abs tight. I just let everything go. And like,
Mhm.
I think that having that feedback is invaluable. I think one thing I wish I would have did was I wish I would have got the feedback from the judges, even though I
Mhm.
didn't play. as well as I wanted to. But I think that like having that feedback is definitely invaluable. And like, how can you understand, like you can look back at videos, you can look back at your pictures, but how do you have a real feel to understand of actually how you did if you don't really get that feedback? So I guess like, do you encourage that the athletes that are competing for the first time or maybe want to make a transition into competing, do you highly encourage that they get the feedback regardless of whether or not they're moving on?
Yeah, I definitely encourage the feedback, because if you don't know what you're training for, how do you even know you're going to make improvements? The thing is, you could be working your ass off, but you could be going in the wrong direction. The great thing about the WNBF is that there's seminars that you can go to beforehand, events that you can go to beforehand. And then after the show, there's always an after party where you just sit down and talk to the judges the whole time. They have all of the sheets, all of the feedback, the scores, and it's fresh in their mind. So you can go talk to them and get all the feedback that you need.
Cool. Absolutely. So I understand that you're affiliate Ghost. I guess what was the main interest for you with joining that brand? I guess kind of like how did everything kind of like link up with that aspect of it?
Yeah. So, I really love the brand because they're more about a balanced lifestyle. Now, I love bodybuilding, but I feel like it's not healthy just to purely focus on bodybuilding, sleep, train, eat. That's definitely not a healthy mindset. You have to enjoy other aspects. Now, it can be a large part of your life, but you still need to value relationships, social events, other things like that. And they push all of that stuff. They're more of a lifestyle brand where, they want you to enjoy the journey. They want you to have balance. So they even post things like, they have like gaming products, like I love video games. They're big in the, yeah.
But I seen that. Yeah, actually seen it in your stories. I was curious to try it myself.
Yeah, no, I love it. And they are also science-based. They have if you go on examine.com, you can go look at each and every ingredient so you know that you're getting top quality products. And the biggest thing holding people back from supplements most of the time is literally the flavor, because they don't want to take it. If it's a greens product or the protein doesn't taste good, they're literally holding themselves back because they bought it, but they're not taking it. And they have literally the best flavors on the planet. They have, connections with some of the biggest companies like Sour Patch Kids, Chips Ahoy, Nutter Butter, like literally all the best collabs.
I don't talk about Nutter Butter. I don't even know if it was a Canadian thing, but I went down to the grocery store and I found like the actual like cookies, like the Nutter Butters. And I was looking for, I actually seen your post is what made me, and I was like, you know what? If I want to buy that protein, like I want to try the product before I buy the protein, right? So I went down into the store and like I bought the Nutter Butter cookies, and I'm telling you, man, I ate the whole pack. Like like I just was like, you know what, screw it. Like I was like 4 or 5 cookies deep. And I was just like, nah, this is happening.
Bro, it's so good. And especially when I'm dieting, because the flavor is so good, it makes the diet so much more enjoyable.
Absolutely. I think people are just like, they get caught up with the vanilla and the chocolate, and they just never end up like, they're scared to try because they buy a tub of it, right? And you're stuck with it. If I know I've bought some shitty proteins before where it's like, oh God, this cookies and cream definitely does not taste like cookies and cream. I think a lot of people are just like, well, you know what? I'll give it a try. But no, I totally agree. I think that's great. And I think that like, I'm definitely going to consider, because I'm doing whey protein and it's like vanilla. And so it's like, you get sickening after a while.
Oh yeah.
So what I started doing was like, I started buying like the smaller proportions, and I'll buy 2. So like, I'll have like a choice or whatever. So instead of buying like the big 10-pound or whatever it is, I'll just buy smaller portions. And I just find that am I feeling chocolate? Am I feeling vanilla? Am I feeling like, it kind of just gives me some choice. So with your coaching, what's that?
Oh, I definitely feel that. Sorry.
Yeah. Especially during like a contest prep, when you're just like, you're craving something like, you know what I mean? Like sweet, or like, you know what I mean? It's a good like option to be able to like mix up or something. Right. So, so with your coaching, I guess your services, is there anything now that you're doing differently? I guess like with the whole landscape of, I mean, when I first heard of online coaching, it was something like new. I don't know how long it's been around for or whatever. Like maybe I like wasn't like, I didn't know or whatever, but I guess like where for online coaching in general, is there something you're doing differently now, or like, how do you stay up to speed with like the direction that online coaching is heading? And to further up that is like, where do you see online coaching in 10 years?
For sure. So the thing is like, I was obsessed with only focusing on, the best training and nutrition protocol. And, having a science-based background, that's what I really prioritized. Obviously, I'm staying up to date on that with the research, but some big changes that I have made was helping people become more accountable. Because the thing is, like, for me to do a contest prep, it's pretty easy for me. I'll get you on stage ready for a certain day, a certain minute of that day, no problem. But if you can't follow it, there's no use. So what I've done is I created a Team Lifts exclusive community. And what we do is we have multiple calls a week, and we have a support group.
That's really
So
cool.
yeah, so we go live. You can go on the Zoom. You can see the other athletes, and I just did a post in the group for everyone to drop their Instagram handles, and we're getting into doing different challenges, little silly fun ones that we can do throughout the month, and give out prizes. So it's more about community building, helping with accountability, and I actually do just starting out one fitness mastermind training a week. So you
That's
might
awesome.
be learning something, or you might be going through your journey, but then you can also get this knowledge on top of that, as well as all of the database of the Facebook group. Because if other people ask the question, it's already answered in there, and you're just going to get more value and knowledge in that standpoint. So those were the changes, because before it just used to be, when I first started, here's an Excel sheet
Yeah,
and an
and
email.
I was too. Yeah, I was doing templates. I spent like numerous like hours doing templates and trying to figure out like how I'm going to be able to take that template and apply it there. And then like Trainer Eyes came in, and then like it was
Mhm,
like everybody was making like the wave to like those online account or the platforms or whatever. And then
mhm.
I was just like, holy shit. So like the evolving aspect of it, but that's crazy about that community. I think that's like a really cool thing. I think that would allow people to, because I think that that's the biggest reason to why online fitness coaching might not work for everybody is because of that accountability. Whereas like the personal training, I mean, it could be arguably said it's worse, but like at least the person's there training at the gym, so
Mhm.
you can assess. You can't really assess their nutrition, but you can still assess like how they're like the effort level that they're giving and like them showing up for the workouts. So I guess to kind of further that question, where do you see online fitness training in like 10, 15, or like in the future? I guess it's a
I think it's going to be normal, a lot more mainstream. Like even now, like I still feel that a lot of people aren't even aware that exists. But
Mhm.
it's a lot better option. If you know what you're doing in the gym, and you pay a personal trainer a ridiculous amount of money to train with them full time in a month, or then you go to a dietitian, or like hit any of these fad diets, you're
Mhm.
talking maybe like $1,000 to $2,000 a month. It's insane.
Easy.
Where like
Yeah,
an online trainer consolidates all of that and gives you something specifically that you personally need to do on a daily basis to hit your fitness goal, where there's limitations in person and just doing either one or the other service. So I definitely think it's the best. Obviously I'm biased, but I feel like it produces a lot more results, because we can throw transformations out, and at Team Lifts, we guarantee your progress or your money back, because we only deliver the best quality services.
absolutely. That's the way to be. So with the whole aspect of your business itself, do you feel like your is training with clients something that interests you? Do you feel like you could eventually maybe evolve your business and downsize to the point where you're training for individuals, but you're training them one on one. You're still giving them that online coaching feel,
Mhm.
whereas you're doing their nutrition, you're doing all their plans. But there's certain days of the week maybe you're in the gym with those clients. Was that something you did in the past, or is that something like are you interested with kind of like engaging with your clients in person a little bit more?
Yeah, I do that as of right now. All my local people, I'm down to meet up, just go kick it, work out.
Yeah.
When I travel, like I usually travel all the time, every month at least, and I go meet up with people that I coach. But I did think about actually just opening up a gym for fun, like not as like a business. Like aspiration, because it's not very lucrative, just like buy a gym, pretty much just have it for myself and some other my friends and stuff. But I need to find a place to settle first.
Absolutely. Yeah, I just always like to ask those future questions because like I think like for me it's definitely evolved since I first started. Like I think it would be kind of cool to like open up a little studio and like sink your funds that you're making your investment into like personal training and like do it your own way, but like have some clients that like you know what I mean. So that's something I was considering. So I thought about asking the question to you. But with the whole social media, I kind of want to move into a little bit of the social media aspect of it. It's definitely a grind. I can definitely understand, and I didn't necessarily have as much of appreciation for social media as I do when I'm actually grinding towards it. How do you, I guess, like how much time do you spend on social media a week? Just in general of like actually like getting the post, like understanding the content, putting out the content. And I guess like how do you stay on top of it just in general?
So what I usually do is meet up with my videographer once a week, and we probably go work out, do a session for like 4 hours. That includes like hanging out at my house, vlogging like my day and stuff, then working out at the gym. And then
Mhm.
that's my content for the week or even longer than a week. And then I use other apps to post for me. So like Hootsuite or later.com
Yep.
to more systematize and automate the process of actually posting. As of recently, the last, maybe 6 months to a year, I don't really use Instagram or YouTube myself to really consume content. Like
Yeah.
I just been enjoying reading books or like, watching movies with my friends and family or just hanging out.
Yeah.
So I limit it a lot. Like even though it's my job and I put it out there, I don't consume as much as I used to, but like obviously I'm keeping up with more of my friends, and that's mostly it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess for somebody who is looking to build like a following on social media, whether it be like YouTube or just Instagram, and they're maybe new to it and they're looking to kind of get in the same situation where you are, where you're able to make an impact on social media, able to connect with people that are like-minded or whatever. How, like, what would you say is the biggest thing that they need to be able to do in order to get that consistency? I think a lot, because you see a lot of people that are like, you know what, I want to become an online fitness coach. I want to become a fitness person, or I want to be like I guess an authoritative figure with
Mhm.
fitness. What like with the whole social media aspect of it, like what kind of tips would you give them for somebody who's scared to put themselves out there, and really kind of post that content? And I guess like were you kind of in that situation where you felt that way of putting that content out there?
Yeah. So number one is you got to do it. A lot of people are like, what is your dream? And they say,
Mhm.
I want to travel the world. It's probably not going to happen for a lot of people because they're not taking the steps to actually, save up, book the vacation to go and travel the world. So first steps is you got to make a schedule and put it in place and make it an appointment every single week or whatever your schedule is to make content. And so that's just getting started. It's a non-negotiable task. If you want to make it happen, you have to make those steps happen and physically do the work and release it. So that's number one. And number two, in a mindset standpoint, is the thing is, you can't care what other people think. Regardless of what happens, you're not going to be able to please everyone. And the
Yeah.
thing is, by you being your authentic self, you're just going to attract people that naturally like you as a person, and you're more likely to like them. So, if anyone's putting you down for doing it, they're probably not your real friend, and they're not even worth your time. And that's what I realized going through this because, I used to personally get hurt by it a lot,
Mhm.
realizing that in quotations, my friends might be putting me down or something, it used to bother me. But then I realized like, where I'm at now, it's like, why did I even care about their opinion? I'm doing
Yeah.
what I love to do, and this is fun for me, and I'm trying to help and impact other people positively. So there's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think a lot of people are like scared to put themselves out there and that they're going to get criticized. And like, that was something that I definitely struggled with as well. Like, I remember like looking at myself on the video for the first time. I'm like, man, I'm not like, I don't look nearly, I don't look nearly as good as I think I do. Right. You kind of get that image in your head where you're like, you think you look good, you're going to the gym, like you're making some progress. But once you see yourself regularly on, it can be cringeworthy sometimes, like to be
Oh
watching
yeah.
some.
Yeah, you got to have fun with it. Like, have fun, be silly, put yourself out there, enjoy it. It's
Yeah.
that's why we do it. We do it for fun. And if you're not enjoying the process, then you're gonna have to switch it up.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know with the whole routine thing, I guess like with your whole routine of managing your own time, you've probably tried like different routines on how to like get into the most optimal way to be productive. But I guess like overall, what was something that like, is it like your work hours, or is it more of like a just like a consistent routine that you follow? What is something that you have found that has really kind of like helped you stay on task, but also like streamline your workflow to kind of get in that like most optimal state of productivity,
For
I
sure.
guess.
So, what I like to do things like journaling, meditating, like I have a vision board right up there to help keep me motivated. And when you really have that deep why of what you want to or why you want to do something, not just that surface level, but like the deep reason on why you truly want to do something, it's going to be self-motivating. And have those reminders around me, adjusting my environment. I put my goals out there publicly to help hold myself accountable as well. But to really get into a routine and stay consistent, Google Calendar. That's like the
Mhm.
biggest thing is all my non-negotiable tasks. I make a list and I write down a number beside it. How long is it going to take? And then I put
Yeah.
all of those into my calendar. And then if people want to book calls with me, I integrate that with a two-way automation with, let's say, Calendly. And then those are the only times I'm available. And that's it. It's non-negotiable because, you do need to have time for yourself, with your family, with your friends, just to do stuff like random things, play video games, you know.
Yeah. So I guess like an average work day, like
Mhm,
if you were going to say like these are my working hours, which is obviously might like vary, but I
mhm.
guess like on average, like how many hours would you say you put in per week based on like not necessarily for like the client aspect of it, but like everything that you need to do in order to stay productive and to be able to continue to be in the situation that you're in.
So let's say I just want to maintain what I'm doing. I'm probably working 20 hours a week. If I want
Yeah,
to grow, then I just add a little bit extra on there. So it's more
yeah,
about self motivation. Is it something that I want to do? Okay, well, I'll add a little bit extra. So to be honest, like I will be playing video games or I'll just be bored at home reading a book or just chilling and I'll get to work just because it's fun.
yeah.
So that's the thing about, loving your job and being truly passionate about it. It's like
Mhm.
I get excited to wake up and get out of bed. Like I get excited to go to work. Like I stop doing other things just so I can, do a little bit of work. And I guess only working 20 hours a week, you have so much extra time that, you might as well just do a little bit extra for fun.
Absolutely. So I just have a couple more questions here, and then we'll wrap things up.
For sure.
So with the whole advice, I know with the business side of things, but also with your physique. But like, I guess let's say for the business side of things, someone who's interested in becoming an online fitness coach, I guess what would be your biggest piece of advice? I understand everybody's in like different situations, but let's say that they have the same kind of interest and passion as you do for the gym, and they enjoy it and they understand, like just like a little bit of science with the training and the nutrition and stuff. What advice would you give somebody who was interested in following in your footsteps?
So number one is make sure that you have enough knowledge to help someone out. Obviously,
Mhm.
that's the main thing. And then number two is get out of your comfort zone and and move towards friction. Do things that you normally wouldn't do to get yourself out there.
Yeah,
What I find is if you put yourself in the client's situation, and you do everything you can do to serve that client, you do everything you can do to improve your service, naturally it's going to grow. Like think about it, wherever your city is, like let's say you're in Halifax, you probably can have a full-time job or full-time work purely just a few people in that one city.
yeah.
So, reverse engineer the income you want to make, see how many clients that's going to have to, to take on, and then put yourself out there. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of people struggle is that they don't necessarily want to commit to it. They might be working like another job, or they have some type of like interference. And honestly, it's like grinding it alone with having a job is stressful. But I think that like at the end of the day, if you really want something, you're able to commit to it. I think that like as long as you know are willing. I think another thing too is like investing in yourself. I feel like a lot of people are just scared to like they think that they're too late in life. Like I'm currently 30 right now, so it's like maybe I thought originally I think it was too late to kind of like start continuing investing myself, maybe going back to school or like whatever it is. But honestly, I think that's the biggest thing that might be holding people back is they're scared to make an investment in themselves. They're scared to kind of put themselves out there, and they're scared to get on. Like I think you nailed it. Everything you said, like
Mhm.
getting out of their comfort zone, like being scared to be challenged on something. I know when I first putting out videos, it's just like people are not necessarily hating to hate, but there are some people out there that want to challenge you. Like, form looks shit, bro, or like you're horrible, and it's just like you just have to take it with a grain of salt and like
Mhm.
really understand that like you're doing something right if people are hating, right? Like you're putting
Mhm.
yourself out there. you're giving people value, and hopefully, if that's what you're doing. But I think at the end of the day, you can't be scared to get, if you want all the benefits that come with putting yourself out there, you have to be willing to accept all the negativity that comes with it, right? So
yeah, you can't just enjoy the fruits. You gotta go through the shit that comes with it.
yeah, and then unfortunately people like get discouraged and like might give up, right? They're just like, well, this isn't
Mhm.
for me. I'll just continue working my 9 to 5, and that's what I'll do.
Yeah,
So
like you only control your own life. So if you decide to wake up and go to your job, that's your choice, you know, and you can't complain because you wake up and go there every day. Now, if you want to do something else, you know, you're going to have to, after you get off work, make the time to make it happen because you're the only one living your life. You're the only one responsible for it. You know, everyone's going to have different obstacles that's going to, you know, prevent you from succeeding. But, you know, you just have to make best of what you have.
absolutely. So just a couple more questions here. So I always like to touch on this with every podcast. It seems to be a recurring question, but I always find it's a good one, just because everybody can relate to it, and especially with like coronavirus and everything that went on with the world. From a motivational aspect, I guess like digging deep inside of you, like what do you feel at the end of the day when you're feeling shitty about yourself? Maybe you don't think you can do what you're doing, or you just had a bad workout and everything starts to kind of go downhill, and you find yourself getting into that negative, unmotivated mindset. I guess like at the end of the day, what is it that kind of motivates you the most to continue pushing and put in the work and put in those 20-hour days if you have to kind of like continue to progress? Like what is that main motivation for you?
My number one motivation is impact, and it's not just the athletes that I impact. You know, it's also my friends, my family. You know, what can I do to help them out? You know, like in a business aspect, like that's like my selfish motivation. And then through the team lifts business aspect, we obviously want to impact more people and bring science to the forefront, the mainstream, and to help more people because, you know, getting in shape is a lot easier than what people make it out to be. And sometimes a lot of people are just one step away from losing that 5 to 10 pounds just to improve their quality of life. And that's what we're really in it for. And, you know, I keep going back to myself. I have a soft spot for it because I know how much fitness impacted myself. And I just
Mhm.
want to be able to share that with other people. And it just feels very rewarding. And, you know, it motivates me every single day. So, just knowing the potential impact I could do with other people, other athletes, as well as how much impact can I, you know, bring to my inner circle, my friends, my family, that type of thing. That's my deep why.
Absolutely. So I guess feeding off that same kind of topic, what do you feel is the most common occurrence if somebody comes to you and they're looking to take their physique to the next level? Where do you find that people are having that issue? And I guess like how do you like from a motivate? We're still talking about motivation. From like a motivational standpoint, what do you think is like the real reason that's really holding people back?
hmm So, you know, I think the biggest thing holding people back is themselves.
Yeah.
Right. It's honestly themselves. And what you had to do is, you know, when you on board, you have to do like different activities to really pull your deep why out. You know, there's different activities that you can do to really figure out why do you truly want this goal. And, you know, sometimes it's like to make sure I can play with my kids when I'm older, you know, maybe to get life insurance or, you know, some of these bigger things, get confidence so I can talk to another partner. So when you really bring that out of someone and you have that deep why, it's a big motivation for them to really push. Because the thing is, if you just say, "Oh, I want to lose weight to look better," you know,
Mhm.
that's not going to be something that's really going to push you. It's like, why do you want to look better? Like, what's the
Yeah.
reason? Right? Is it attention to potentially find a soulmate? You know, that's a big reason, right?
I feel like that's the number one reason is people like that don't invest into coaching. They
Mhm.
just are lost in like translation. They're just lost in like a
Mhm.
like a no goal zone where they think they have a goal, but
Yeah.
they're not really training for something. They don't really have they think they're training to bulk, or they think they're training to cut, or they're just maybe training they're like for health reasons or just to look better. But I think
Mhm.
at the end of the day, people can like achieve a lot more than they actually like really think that they can. And I
Mhm.
think that investing in a coach will not only give you like a sense of direction of
Mhm.
just like how to like streamline it, make your goals more like make to be able to achieve a certain result quicker. But I
Mhm.
think also like the accountability thing is huge. I think a lot of people like you
Yep.
see in January where everybody flocks to the gym, and then in December it's like they're back to square one. So I think that like having that like not necessarily like the consistency aspect of it, but I think a lot of people just like you said they're not accountable themselves. Like they're the
Mhm.
reason why they're holding like they're holding themselves back is basically what I agree with that. I think that's huge. And I think that's where coaching comes in as well. I think a lot of people look at coaching as, I don't want to follow another shitty workout program, or like the workout program that I had before didn't work. But I think that as a coach, or as somebody who coaches, it's like, it's not just another shitty program. It's more than a program. It's a lifestyle change. It's a routine. It's developing like the right habits. And then that's something that you don't get. If you have a hard time doing it, it's like, that's where the coaching aspect comes in. So that's just kind of like my thoughts on that whole.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I definitely agree. Goal clarity, accountability, lifestyle change. Cause like we can write up the best program.
And like a coach could identify something that you didn't even know you had. You know what I mean? Like you could go to a coach and be like, man, you have like, you seriously have like a good physique. Like if like we dialed in your nutrition, we could probably end up doing a show. And you know what I mean? So I think that like, not necessarily that you're trying to like up coach them and like upsell them into like your coaching or whatever. But I feel like a lot of people like have potential and like have like, you know what I mean? Like, and if you have a coach that can identify that, then you're able to like maybe do things that you never really thought, like empowering things that you never really thought that was out there for you to begin with.
Yeah, like I have a therapist that I talk to. You know, I have a business coach. Like I have a fitness coach myself, even though I've helped take people at the world-class level, you know, whatever helped. Like I literally, because I wanted to play Yu-Gi-Oh and speed up the process so I could, you know, be able to enjoy the game better, I literally hired a Yu-Gi-Oh coach.
Yeah. I just want to spin off that really quick. So that just kind of made me think of something with the coaching aspect of it, being a coach and having a coach. Do you feel like there's any, obviously Jeff is very well rounded, he knows, and he, like you mentioned before in the earlier the podcast, like he got you to where you are, but is there a spot where like the coach comes out in you and maybe not necessarily challenge him, but is there an aspect of it where it's like open communication, where it's like, we're both coaches, we're both educated on this, like what, like, is there any like sort of like open communication between it, or like making the plans like, okay, let's do this, like, and then you agree, is like, is there any of that going on with the coaching?
The thing there is a 100% open communication. Like I could just text or FaceTime him, like, you know, anytime I want and discuss literally anything. He like, I'm lucky because he's also one of my best friends. But the thing is I have so much trust in Jeff that I never question anything. Like I'll ask questions, but like I'll never challenge him. But even if you do have a coach, you should challenge your coach. If you don't understand something or you don't know what's going on, challenge them. You know, you want to be able to understand what's going on so you can take these tools and be able to get lifelong value from everything that you learn.
Absolutely. So two more questions here and then we'll wrap it up, or two more topics, not necessarily questions, but topics.
For sure.
So with the whole aspect of like expanding your coaching business, and I understand that you're kind of like scaling up your business and you're kind of moving in a more like growth stage, I guess you would say. Where are your interests in terms of like business ventures? I understand that before you had an interest with the clothing line. You kind of released some like exclusively like Teams lifts, like apparel and stuff like that. I guess like, and then like supplements, maybe like, where are you in terms of like, do you ever plan on maybe like opening up a gym, or do you end up like maybe just like having a Patty lifts? I understand Jeff has like a supplement with like the Kiwi or whatever. Like, do you end up like having any of those things that kind of interest you with other business ventures?
You know, I pretty much do everything for fun, you know. So if I'm enjoying the process, like I love Ghost, you know, I support them. Like I think it's an awesome, dope brand. I enjoy taking the products. As for the clothing, I literally enjoyed, you know, picking out the materials and creating the product, the cut and sew, the shape of it, the designs and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's something I enjoy. But in a bigger aspect, like let's say I'm really looking to scale and really push and bring more impact, is you know, I just want to grow the Team Lifts brand and be able to take on more coaches, be able to impact the coaches' lives, you know, to allow them to be able to do what they love to do full time while being able to impact so many other people. Because I think there's a disconnect in the fitness industry where people are doing so many of the wrong things. Whereas if they just made a couple changes in their life, they could literally have their dream body. So that's where in a business aspect, I feel like we could really grow. So I just got to pull the trigger.
So do you ever feel like you're like have an interest of like reducing your workload to the point where you're really not doing that much other than just like managing a couple trainers? Or is it, do you still kind of want to stay in the loop of things with having your clients? Or would you kind of say, you know what, I eventually, like down the road, like maybe you kind of want to get out of it a little bit more and then pass the baton on to somebody or a couple coaches, like a couple handful of coaches that you really trust? Like, is that something that, or do you always want to be involved with it? Like,
Yeah. So no matter what I do, I'm going to be doing online coaching forever because I just enjoy it so much. Like it
yeah.
just makes my life feel so much more complete. And then like, I guess you've seen in the past, because we work together, like I've been full, like majority of the year. So
Yeah.
what I do is I hop on a call. I actually have like a sales team now where they go talk to my sales team, and then if I'm full, then they can be referred to one of the team lifts coaches. So what we do is we guarantee them a certain result, and then give them the same high quality service. But they also get interaction with me in the groups because I'm hosting the calls and I'm doing the fitness mastermind calls and then the group calls in the community. It's just less of the one-on-one. So, I'm always going to be taking one-on-one clients because, I just love it. But I'm just going to be able to take more people onto team lifts, just working with other coaches. That's all.
Yeah. So you want to be able to help change as many lives as you can. And if that requires having to like outsource some of the work, but still be involved with the community and still be in charge of actually getting the people results. And so it allows you a way to be able to continue to grow your business while still putting the trust in the coaches that you put it in order to deliver the results that you would get yourself. So that would, like, I guess, yeah, that's just my understanding of what you said. So
Yeah. So like, let's say I work with a client, I only get communication with them. And then let's say someone else will, like, I'll onboard them. So like, let's say you were a coach, I would send them to you. You would have the team lift system, but then the communication would be with you. So just depends on like how full each coach is, depending on where they're going to go. And if it's something the athlete wants to do, obviously.
Absolutely. So just to conclude the podcast here, I do have one last question. So the last question is there any type of thing you want to say to kind of conclude the podcast? Any last words or any last thoughts just to kind of get people motivated, not necessarily get people motivated, but just like a closing remark?
For sure. So, one thing I do want to say, because, we're both Halifax boys or East Coast boys, is that
Absolutely.
Get out of your comfort zone. And the thing is, like, when you see people out there and you're watching this guy on TV or on Instagram or YouTube being like living a certain lifestyle, that literally could be you. You have to go out of your comfort zone and you actually have to give yourself a chance to get there. If you don't even give yourself a chance to achieve your dreams or your goals, you're automatically failing. So, put yourself out there. You never know what's going to happen. The worst case scenario is that you tried. And then when you're older, you can be like, look, I did my best. I tried to shoot for my dreams. It didn't work out, versus always having that regret. So just put yourself out there, enjoy what you do, love what you do. And, it could change your life.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I think that like, that's one of my biggest, well, I have lots of fears, but that's probably one of my biggest fears is just living in regret, like growing old and like never really realizing like what I could have did or not really making the most of my time. I feel like that would be one of my biggest things is just not pulling the trigger on things I know I probably should have, or not really. I think the biggest thing is just not believing in myself. I feel like that's a common thing. Like you said, you see people out there doing it and you're like, well, I can never do that. But like realistically, it's like you can do anything you put your mind to as long as you really apply yourself and you're in the right situation. So I feel like that's just kind of like my mentality of, and I always believed, like obviously I went into business. So for me, I always believed in doing something what you love to do. And obviously I thought that was accounting to begin with because I loved helping people and I loved like the service industry. But then I slowly realized that like, you know what? I'm happy that I took business. I'm not necessarily happy that I took accounting, but I'm happy that I took business because there's a lot of transferable skills. And one of my goals was to be a business owner, to own some type of business. So then that's when I decided, you know what? I'm ready to take the risk. I'm ready to start a business. If I don't, I think that's another thing. People are like going to business and they work for somebody else to try to get some experience and they never really take that risk. So for me, it was something that I knew that like my passion for fitness and my business, I was just like, you know what, I'll combine the two and I'll learn day by day and I'll just try to keep getting better. And there's things that always come up where I'm like, hey man, like what would you do in this situation? Or I'm asking people that I trust in certain situations. And like, it's a constant learning process. And I think that like, you don't have to have it all figured out, right? I think that's the problem that people get into is they think they need to know every single step. They think they need to figure everything out before they even take the first step. So I would highly encourage everybody out there, like you're an example of that. Like, and I feel like I'm slowly starting to become an example of that myself. Like, I feel like just by being able to take that first step is sometimes the only step that you really need. And like looking back on it, you're like, if I didn't take that first step, then, you know what I mean? Nobody would have pushed you. Nobody would have pushed you to do that. You would have had to do that yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's people in your life that can definitely impact you and like encourage you to do it. But at the end of the day, that's your decision. So I think that would be the biggest thing, is just risk is good. I think a lot of people are scared of risk. Obviously there's a consequence with it, but I think that taking that first step is 100% what I would recommend for people that are scared to move on with their life or feel like they're stuck.
Yeah. Without the risk, that means there's a 0% chance you're going to make it. You need to have some of the risk to ensure that you at least give yourself the opportunity to do what you love. So I love that, man. I definitely agree.
And how I always end, I do appreciate you coming on. I know you're busy and taking the time out. We've had this in the works for a little bit. So I was really excited to have you on, and working with you in the past was a blessing as well. And you know what, I'm definitely going to be going for that pro card eventually. So definitely a future coach right here. But yeah, like that's another thing that's on my bucket list. It's one of my goals. Like I said, I'm going to try to take steps in the direction to be able to do that every day. But yeah, I do really appreciate having you on. And joining me. But how I always end every podcast is, don't forget to be inspiring, stay motivated, and continue to push your limits.